Hi everybody, TJ Mack of Vintage Cards and Nostalgia here. And there's something truly special about collecting vintage cards. It's not just the thrill of adding another card, but it's the way each card connects me to a different chapter of sports history. And it brings a sense of joy that goes far beyond the collection itself. With every card, I'm capturing a moment in time, the era in which the player lived, their career standing, and the story of that particular season. But I'm also capturing something deeply personal, a part of who I am, where I came from, and where I've been. These cards, they're markers of the times they represent and the memories that they just stir within me. Now, recently I picked up several cards that have found their place in the ongoing projects I'm working on. And these projects, they give my collection both focus and purpose, but they also allow me to spread into different areas. I don't know about you, but I have times where I get a little burned out or lose interest in collecting a specific sport or era. Like right now, I'm just not adding as much baseball or cards from the 80s, but I've been very heavily focused on hockey, especially from the 50s and 60s, which is where I want to grow more of my collection. And I've also been working on my American Football League or AFL collection. And of course, magazines are always playing a big part in my collecting. And also right now I'm selling some of the non-sports cards items on eBay. They're just taking up space in my basement. I'm also selling some old statues that are not sports related that were given to me. And then I also have some starting lineups from my childhood through my early 20s and a few other odds and ends that I plan on selling to use the money to buy some more expensive cards in my collection. Now, I'm on a pretty good budget every month, and there's some cards that I want to get that are a little beyond that budget. I could save up for them, but this will give me an opportunity to maybe buy a few of those cards that I'm looking for. Some of those are a 50s and early 60s hockey card of Gordie Howe. I'd like to add another one of those to my collection. A Jacques Plante, another Rocket Richard. Then I'm also looking at some 48 and 49 Leaf football cards. I'd like to get the Sid Luckman at some point, the Sammy Baugh, and the Bobby Lane. Those are some of the bigger names that I'm eyeing. But to be honest, who knows? I might add something completely different if the opportunity arises. But that's in the mood I'm in right now, of those types of cards, and that's my plan at the moment. So now let's take a look at some of the cards I want to talk about today. First up is the 1959 Parker's card of Hall of Famer Henri Richard. Now, he was the younger brother of the great Maurice Rocket Richard. Henri, who was 14 years younger, was known as the Pocket Rocket due to his smaller stature. He was around 5'6" and weighed 165 pounds. But he was very quick, a great stick handler, and he centered a line with his brother on it and Hall of Famer Dickie Moore. Henri holds the distinction of winning 11 Stanley Cups, making him the greatest winner of any player in the four major sports. Now, the 59 Parkhurst design, it's really one of my favorite from the 1950s. I love the color contrast with the white. And these cards, they come with blue, yellow, and red backgrounds. And they really are striking. I'm working on putting together key cards from both the 1959 Topps Hockey and 59 Parkhurst sets. Now, Parkhurst is a 50-card set, and it features only the two Canadian teams, the Toronto Maple Leafs and Montreal Canadiens. And this is my sixth card, I believe, from the set. And then next to it is an example of the 59 Topps. I've shown this card before. It's Hall of Fame defenseman Harry Howell. And the 59 Topps set has 66 cards, and it features the American teams, the Rangers, the Blackhawks, the Bruins, and the Red Wings. Now, both the Topps and the Parkhurst, they were only distributed in Canada. And while they're not rare, they're not as easy to find as baseball cards. So you've got to take your time and be really patient with them. And it's just two sets that I really think are going to look nicely displayed together. The Topps tends to have a lot of the closer up portrait shots, and they do have some 3/4 and half body shots in the set, even a few full body shots. But I do like the differences in the photography and the design used between the two sets. Both of them, I think, are very effective in showing hockey players from that time frame. Next is one of the most special cards I've added to my AFL collection in a very long time. It's the 1962 Fleer rookie of the late Billy Shaw. Now, I've been on the lookout for this card for a few years. It's pretty expensive. It can go for close to $200 in this condition. They're not readily available in large quantities, so it's not easy to pick one up. Now, in late July, I decided to buy a PSA 5 on eBay for around $125. But then all of a sudden, I saw this one come up for sale. Now, the seller listed it with an opening bid of $45, and I won it for $46 with $12 shipping. So with tax, it cost me about $62. Needless to say, I'm just absolutely thrilled to add this card. Now, you might be asking, why did this card sell for so low? Well, the seller was in Guam. Now, I've never purchased a card from Guam before, but I figure with the eBay protections and that opening bid, I'm going to give it a shot. And this card, it especially means a lot to me because Drew from the channel, The Drew of Vintage Legacy, he went to church with Billy Shaw. And when I first started talking with Drew, he very kindly sent me this index card that Billy Shaw signed for me. And you can see the inscription on it. It says, "To Terry, my best to a Bills fan, your fan, Billy Shaw, Hall of Fame, 99. And then it's got the scripture quote, Proverbs 3, verse 6. You know what's really funny about this is that I remember Drew telling me that Billy Shaw knew how expensive that his rookie card was. He had some of his cards in his collection. And I'm thinking to myself, if Billy were here, I bet he'd get a laugh knowing I picked up this rookie card for such a good price. And especially from Guam, of all places. Now, if you don't know much about Billy Shaw, he played offensive guard for the Buffalo Bills from 1961 to 1969, and he made the Pro Bowl in 8 of his 9 seasons. Now, he is the only player who played exclusively in the AFL to be inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. That really just shows you how great a player he was. Now, I want to let you know about Drew's video that he did in tribute to Billy Shaw. And if you want to know about Billy Shaw, the man, not just a football player, I'm going to put a link to Drew's video down below, and I encourage you to check it out because he was even a greater man than he was a player on the football field, and that's saying a lot. Here's the back of the Billy Shaw card. I haven't shown the 62 Fleers before. I didn't show the Parkhurst and the Topps hockey bags. I've shown those in the past, but I wanted to show the back of this card. This is a beautiful set. I love the 62 Fleers. Another card I recently added is this 1950 Bowman rookie of Johnny Antonelli. I've been working on a project featuring the best pitchers of each decade, and Antonelli was one of the best from the 50s. According to the website This Great Game, the fiery southpaw had to overcome plenty of hurdles in the early 50s, with some of his brave teammates being jealous of his bonus baby status. And I've read in the past that that wasn't really uncommon, as bonus babies were making good money compared to some of the everyday players. Of course, they weren't playing very often, if at all, but they were on the rosters. Antonelli was traded to the New York Giants in 1954. It really didn't get much easier for him because he was traded for Bobby Thompson of the shot heard around the world fame. So many fans in New York were upset at first because Thompson, he was an icon, of course, and it was just a very tough situation for Antonelli to come into. But the Giants fans came around. It didn't take too long because Antonelli finished that year 21-7 with a 2.30 ERA, and he helped the Giants to a World Series win over the Cleveland Indians. And in that series, Antonelli allowed just 1 run in 10.2 innings, and he won 20 games again in 1956. So he had a really nice decade of the 1950s, especially once he got onto the Giants. And when he went to San Francisco, that success continued. He was 35-23. And I read that he upset the Bay Area fans because he publicly criticized the city in its chilly summer fog. But he was still somewhat popular player in that era because of his ability to win on the mound, of course. And Antonelli also in the 50s was, he racked up 23 shutouts and he led the National League twice. So it's just a great card to add in my collection. And sometimes I will share the prices. I was really surprised to get this rookie card for $18 and I think it was 50 cents plus shipping. So it was probably $24, $25 all in. And it's just a beautiful rookie card of his. And just has a special place in my collection because I just love those types of players that, not Hall of Famers, but big time contributors. Then there's this 1977 Topps rookie card of Pat Hayden. This is part of a project that has very special meaning to me. I talked about it a couple months ago. I'm collecting cards of the quarterbacks who started the most games for their teams in 1981. The reason that it is because it's the first year I seriously started watching football, and it's really the one that's burned into my memory as a kid. And Hayden, he's not a household name, of course, but in 1981, he started 11 games for the Los Angeles Rams. He wasn't the most popular or decorated Rams quarterback, but he did post a 35-19-1 record as a starter, though he was only 2-3 in the playoffs. But he did beat my Cowboys in 1978. Now, he took over the starting job as a rookie from the popular James Harris in 1976, and it's believed that Rams owner Carroll Rosenblum forced coach Chuck Knox to start Hayden due to his discomfort with having a black starting quarterback. Now, even though Harris had been the NFC's top-rated passer, Knox still had to make that move. Hayden, he had dealt with injuries and a lack of job security throughout his career, and after the 1981 season, he retired and became a CBS broadcaster. Now, collecting these 1981 quarterbacks, it just really helps me recapture the early days of my fandom. I just love watching football back in those days, and it just takes me right back to that era. Now, there were 28 NFL teams in 1981. So far, I have 16 rookie cards of those quarterbacks. And I have most of the bigger names. It's really the ones that are more obscure that are harder to come by. But it's fun to look for them, and I just continue to slowly go about the project. And it might take me a while, and that's fine. But for me, collecting these cards, they're just not about owning rare items or anything like that. It's really about connecting with the history of the game and just the memories they evoke from within me. And each one of these projects, as you can see, and I have many others because that just really keeps my interest as a collector. But with each of these projects, every new card I add, there's just really this sense of fulfillment. And it's a story that comes to life and just the memories that they conjure up. And it can be the hockey legends like I showed you of Henri Richard, or a football star like Billy Shaw, or just these quarterbacks of my youth. These cards, they're really more than collectibles to me, and that's just really how I go about it as a collector. They're links to my past and the joy that I have in this hobby. And as I near the completion of some of these projects, there'll be new ones to take their place. And it just reminds me of how much fun this hobby is and how I'm really building something meaningful. So everybody have a great weekend, and I won't be on with a video next week because I'm going to be out of the area, but I'll be back eventually, and I just look forward to talking with you all then. Take care.